What is going on, Amazon sellers, and welcome back to the Sunday edition of the weekly Amazon Q&A show, where we give it to you straight up and down like 12:30. We're going to share some e-commerce news, some stats, the occasional business maxim, and of course, we're here to answer your questions about selling on Amazon. So if you've got a question about retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, wholesale, or perhaps you just have a Keepa quandary, well, drop it in the chat and we will be more than happy to help. Now, for those of you who may be new here, my name is Chris Grant, and to my right is my tittle batical co-host, Chris Rasick. Chris, how's Sunday treating you, man?
Sunday's all right. It's a little up in the air. I took a peek at the show doc. I think it's a slow assault on my sanity. It feels like a coordinated effort, right? Because it's for the last several hours. Hopefully my microphone isn't picking it up, but my wife and daughters have been watching Chris Lee Knows Best. I think that's what it's called.
Thoughts and prayers, sir.
Yeah, and it's been pumping in from the other room for hours, and that just it drives me insane. Like the sound of his voice is like nails on a chalkboard. And then lo and behold, I took a peek at the first story on the show doc. So you are clearly in on it, and I am taking it personally. So
yeah, I mean we'll get to it in a moment, but I mean, I had to share this because, well, it's our show and we get to share whatever we want. And when something like this happens, I take it personal. We'll get to that in a minute. But I was gonna mention, today for me has been incredibly productive. I got up, I did some sourcing this morning. And something that always comes to mind is, there are some days and I'm like, man, it's rough out here in these digital streets. And then other days it's like, holy cow, I can't miss. And today was one of those days. I couldn't miss. I was doing step back threes like Steph Curry all morning long. And it was nice. It felt good. Like I got some leads up this morning, and then Chris and I run a lead list during the week, Monday through Friday. I'm pretty sure I've got tomorrow handled without even like I've got like 35 tabs open in another browser, and then on top of that. Wrote a guide for our OAC Plus group. I turned that guide into a 7-page SOP to help people, contain some of the leakage in their business. We've got a podcast episode, first one of 2026, being recorded tomorrow. I've got that ready to go. Show notes are good. Some solid bones on it too. Yeah, it's been, I'm freezing. Like I can't feel my fingers, but been incredibly productive.
Yeah, freezing, but en fuego nonetheless. Like if you were a character on NBA Jam, you'd be taken off from the half court line with a trail of flames behind you as you dunked it. That's a good feeling. Those are good runs to get on. I'm a little bit jealous. My day's been good too. Like I paid my VAs like 4 hours earlier than I normally did. Kind of just must be something in the air, that just kind of had me a little more focused than normal. So
yeah,
but, nothing to that extent of the role that you're on, but
something in the air.
Oh, that's terrible. That's a kid's show. Knock it off.
All right, guys. All right, enough having a little fun. Let's dive right into it. And I'll tell you what, I got a news story I'm hot about, but I see a question here, and I want to get to it before anything. But own review. Hey, Chris, I have a question as a new seller. When exactly should you worry about the whole invoice versus receipts? I'm currently doing RA and worried since I only have receipts. I'm scared that because I'm doing RA and only working with receipts that I'm digging myself into a hole. You're not. Don't worry about that at all. As long as you're not buying, from a bin store, for example, and you're not buying from Goodwill, you're buying from local retailers that have established presences. You're buying from TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Ross, Ollie's, Target. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. You're fine. Just have a good system for keeping very good records. If you're buying from places like TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Ross, Ollie's, etc., make sure you're taking an image of the item with the sticker on it, and keeping that with the receipt, because that sticker has their own special SKU or stock keeping unit that's going to match your receipt, because the receipt might say menswear or uh, what is the term for women's wear?
I don't know.
Whatever that is. It may just say that. It may say sporting goods rather than actually naming what the actual product is. But you're just fine. You'll be able to beat IP complaints. You'll be able to beat Section 3s. You'll be able to handle inauthentic complaints. You have no problem whatsoever. And you can listen to our episodes with Kim and Perry that we've done. Listen to our episodes with Steve French that we've done. We've got another one with Kim and Perry coming up where we'll talk about this. You're good. You're absolutely good.
So it's officially been over 6 years that I've been doing it, because I know I was actually selling in early 2020. So I'd imagine it was probably like late 2019 was the official start. So we'll call it, a little over 6 years. And I have only ever needed or used an invoice once in 6 years. And that was when I ungated grocery in early 2020, right before the pandemic hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if I even needed it, but at that point it was, I had the invoice from Frontier Co-op. They wanted pictures of the Himalayan salt that I used ungate at the time. They actually followed up and asked for a clear picture, or they wanted to see a different side of the label or something like that. That's how not AI it was back then. And that is the only time in my 6 years that I've used an invoice. I've gotten them just unintentionally, just through certain retailers that I've done OA with. Some retailers just use invoices and they just send them, but I haven't used them. I haven't forwarded those on or had a need to forward them on to Amazon in my entire time. So,
Yeah,
it should be Chris, you probably wouldn't say this, but I will. There are different levels of advice, right? And I don't know what your inputs are on review, and I'm not going to make assumptions. This is my own observations. There are people out there that need to stay clean no matter what, right? And it's, for whatever reason, that's the strategy that they've deployed in their marketing, is squeaky clean, right? And if they were running a well, I think every driving school does, but if they were teaching you how to drive, they'd be telling you 10 and 2 at all times, and you keep 2 hands on the wheel, right? Do you know anybody that actually drives 10 and 2 all the time? Like, my wife got a ticket for driving with her knee like the cop knew because she had both hands up fixing her ponytail, and she actually got a ticket. You know what I mean? But but if you go drive with if an older sibling or one of your parents or something teaches you how to drive, they're gonna, it's not gonna be 10 and 2. They're gonna tell you the real things to look out for. Like, hey, watch this guy. But they're gonna be driving if you're the passenger seat and they're telling you and kind of instructing, kind of talking out loud. They're gonna be driving with one hand and they're gonna be fixing the radio. Bunch of things you can't do with the driving instructor in the car, but that's how real people drive. And it's not illegal. You're not doing anything wrong. If you're paying attention, you could do it perfectly safe. But you know what I mean? But certain people are only going to tell you 10 and 2 because no matter what, they need their reputation to be 100% squeaky clean, but it's not necessarily reality. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, that's a good metaphor. I like it.
Yeah.
It's funny you bring up driving with the knee. I amazed my son the other day driving home from school. I drove like 3 miles with just my knee. And I kept my hands down here and he's like, but how? And I was like, because I have forgotten more about driving than you will ever know.
Right. I remember the girl I dated in high school, she got real upset because her mom had told her to stay 1 car length behind the car in front of you for every 10 miles per hour that you're going. And I think we were fighting or something like that. And I was like, will you knock it off? like come to the real world. Like, get out of here. Like, I said, no one would ever get anywhere if everybody did that. So.
I did hold back though, because what I really wanted to say to my son is you should see me with a beer in one hand, a cheeseburger in the other, and driving a stick shift. But I did not tell him that.
Is Luke here? He's always texting and driving. I want to know if is he like is he one hand and just thumbing it, or does he put the knee and get through the text faster? Does he think that's safer to drive with his knee and text with both thumbs?
You know what? I got a lot of love for Luke, but Luke also strikes me as the guy who texts like this, with holding the phone in one hand and hitting it with this index finger. And you know what, Luke, I'm sorry. You are not live here to defend yourself. And so I'm sorry for that.
That's mean.
Okay. All right. I see some more questions. But I got to come hot out of the gate, because I am incensed by what's happening to my favorite retailer, one of my favorite retailers. But Costco's cult favorite rotisserie chicken, of which they sell over 157 million little chickens annually, is now at the center of a class action lawsuit alleging the no preservatives claim on the label is flat out false. Now, this lawsuit was filed in San Diego federal court. Sorry. I was, if you ever seen Anchorman, that scene just ran through my head of what San Diego means. But San Diego federal court, the complaint alleges that Costco's Kirkland's signature seasoned rotisserie chicken contains sodium phosphate and carrageenan, despite marketing the claims, no preservatives, no MSG, no gluten, no artificial flavors, and no colors. The plaintiffs argue they wouldn't have purchased the chicken, or they would have paid less if they'd known. Their attorney claims Costco has systematically cheated customers out of tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. I would like to know what kind of crackerjack attorney thought it was a good idea to take this case on. Now, the FDA defines chemical preservatives, but they exclude common salt, sugars, vinegars, and spices. So the whole thing is going to hinge on whether or not lawyers can prove that sodium phosphate and carrageenan qualify as preservatives under federal law, and that's what courts are going to have to decide. Now, if the courts or the judge or anybody with a brain does what I did and went out and looked these things up, this court case is going to not last very long, because neither of these things are considered preservatives under FDA rule. One of them is considered an additive, carrageenan, and the other one is considered, I can't remember, something else, but not a preservative.
One of them's a thickening agent, I believe.
Yeah. One of them was like a thickening agent. Now it gets worse though. Now this is the part that I'm a little upset by. There is a separate report from Farm Forward, which I don't know if they've got some sort of beef with Costco or not, but they state that Costco's Lincoln Premium Poultry Plant in Nebraska, which supplies about 40% of Costco's chicken, which Costco actually purchased to keep the chickens at $4.99 so that they could be vertically integrated and not increase the price, okay, has consistently failed USDA monthly salmonella tests. The plant received the worst Category 3 rating 92% of the time since 2019 and 100% of the time from September 2023 through July of 2025. Consumer Reports listed among the most contaminated poultry plants in the U.S., and the FDA can't close it or stop the chicken from reaching shelves, which doesn't make any sense to me. Like, the FDA seems to have oversight of this kind of stuff, so why couldn't they stop it if it was really that bad is what I'm curious about. And if there is, I mean, salmonella is on chicken, period. So if they're cooking it, I'm not 100% sure what the issue is, but I don't know like the behind the scenes of food service either. Now, just a little behind the scenes. We know Costco doesn't want to budge on this price. The $4.99 chicken is a deliberate loss leader. It's so popular that people even have shirts with the barcode on it. Also because they don't want lasers on their food. Costco even bought its own chicken farm to minimize those losses. CFO Gary Millerchip says holding prices on signature items like the chicken and the $1.50 hot dog sends an important message to consumers. I mean, the $1.50 hot dog is also something that Jim Sinegal said that he would murder the CFO over. So, I mean, there's another reason too. But all in all, I'm a little irritated with this whole lawsuit. It seems frivolous. It seems ridiculous. And I really hope this gets thrown out with prejudice.
Yeah, me too. In fact, I hope they get countersued. I hope the lawyers face sanctions for wasting the court's time and clogging up the court system with something this stupid. This is, this is the anti-intellectualism at its peak. This is the nutrition influencer. This is why you're sick. That whole line of BS. It's that version. It's essentially clickbait, right? I mean, how many? I watch a lot of fitness, videos or whatnot. Like we've talked about it. We both like the Nutrition Narc and Liam Layton, sometimes known as the Plant Slant, and they have very objective, common sense views, and they don't buy into any of this fear mongering, which is all this is, but you'll see that jackass, the one guy with no shirt, he just has shorts and bare feet walking through the grocery store and talking about all the different stuff that's going to kill you.
How does he get away with that?
I don't know. Hopefully they just cut out the parts where people are throwing tomatoes at him and stuff like that. But this lawsuit is definitely, speaking of quacks and grifters in the nutrition space, this lawsuit is definitely Bobby approved. And if you follow Bobby's advice, if you're getting a little uppity, I am speaking to you, and I do think less of you if you think Bobby is helping you in any way, and not solely trying to scare you to sell whatever he's got a piece of. So, and that's the problem. You know, the thing is with all these people that talk about this stuff, just go to their profile and see if they have something for sale in their profile, and they do. I have this realtor that I when I was a loan officer many years ago. She's big into helping stray animals. So and as a loan officer, we try to partner with realtors because you can have a give and take referral network. You know, I can pre-approve people, and hey, do you need a realtor, and refer people, and then vice versa when she finds people that want to buy a house that aren't pre-approved yet, right? So anyway, so my pitch to this woman was that any loan that if she sent me customers and we closed a loan and I did the financing for her, I would make a donation to an animal shelter of her choice, for every loan, so that's kind of how we got going. And well, it turns out she loves stray animals and organic granola, crunchy, all this stuff, right? And she posts all these videos, and even about Costco and stuff too. And I'm at the point now where I'm like, I don't even have to look to know that the person's video that you posted is selling something. Is it a detox? Is it a cleanse of some sort? And that's all BS. So anyway, so all that to say that I hope this gets thrown out. We need to stop with the fear mongering, because it's all for engagement, and that's the one thing that's, we've talked about it in podcasts on different subjects about the importance of learning sales. Not that we're necessarily selling, but it's good to know the tactics, and the marketing and sales. That's an important thing to learn regardless, even if you don't do any marketing or any sales. It's good to know what people are doing to you to try to manipulate your opinion and coax money out of your wallet. And that's what this stuff is. They're just trying to scare you, like which headline is going to get more clicks. The article that says this one ingredient is slowly killing you, or carrageenan. If you ate 1,000 times the amount of carrageenan that you're currently eating, you may have some health side effects. Like which headline's going to get more clicks? That's all this is. It's just clickbait. It's engagement bait, and it's just internet marketing gone wrong.
Yep. All right, let's answer a couple more questions. Jaron, have you found, or what have you found to be the most effective way of gathering the most ASINs at once for the Boxum Ungateinator? That would great name for it, by the way. So, Jaron, I actually put a video. I know you're an OAC Plus, so I put a video in the replays section. And it's called How to Get Auto Ungated Automatically and Find Ungated Brands for Sourcing in Bulk. And I put in there how you're going to go and use KPF and grab tens of thousands of ASINs at a time. It's very simple to do. So yeah, go watch that video. It's in the replays channel. It's 13 minutes long. Oh, Heather, this makes my day. Hey guys, I don't have enough capital for all the opportunities from Q1, alpha, and gamma leads. Just dropped 800 today on RA. Million ways to make $1 million. You are absolutely right. Heather, you are awesome. I appreciate you.
Congrats on your record month. She shared that in the OAC Plus, and doing all that with a full-time gig. I'm just kind of, and really only a few months of really getting serious. She had a false start and hopped in with some people that weren't as helpful as they made it sound in their marketing pitch. And then she found us a few months ago and has been kicking ass ever since.
Yeah.
So good for you, Heather.
All right, we got Nasir over on Instagram. I have a question. In my inventory is lost in Amazon warehouse a lot. What's the best way to track everything? We don't have any tools in Canada. You can pull your inventory reports and find out what's lost and stuff like that. That'd be the free way to do it without finding some sort of. There's got to be some tool that works in Canada. But without any tools, I would go and pull your inventory reports, look at the items that are, look at your inbound shipments to see when there are discrepancies and then open cases on those. But also, you may want to use a service. Like, I'm pretty sure True Ops would work in Canada. And if they do, you could use a service to help you file those claims, and they only take 10%. All right. Yeah. Jimmy, how do you bilk people for tens of millions of dollars on a $5 chicken? Champion, do you have a video on how to structure your credit card payments to get the best time between payments? We have discussed that. We did a podcast all about getting more capital. I don't remember the name of it right off the top of my head, but also in that episode, we have a guide on how to use, at the time it was ChatGPT. Now I would use Claude or Grok to figure out the best way to stagger your payments across credit cards and stagger your usage across credit cards and even change the dates on your credit cards. All of that stuff. So if you go and scroll through the podcast episodes, look at the one where we talk about capital, download that file and run that through ChatGPT or whatever your AI is of choice with your actual dates, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, that's the best episode. But then also, if you want to tack on to that, Ryan Kimura, the episode with him, he talks about that strategy as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ryan Kimura, you're right. There's a good one there. And you know who else is the arbitrage card episode? We talked credit cards quite a bit in that one as well.
Yeah.
I hate that I'm
Taylor Thomas.
Taylor from Arbitrage Card. Yeah, we've got 3 good episodes on that, I think. Shane, all gated brands for me suddenly don't have the $ in front of them. I'm not the only one. Has anyone had any luck getting ungated in previously locked brands? I have not really paid too much attention today, but I am going to go and look for things like Hasbro and Mattel right after we're done and see if anything has changed. That would be very interesting.
Yeah, I noticed that the $ was gone, and I just kind of accidentally noticed it. It just felt like that would have been a typical brand that had the $, and it wasn't sitting there. I haven't checked all brands, like this is just kind of as I was going through some of my sourcing, just kind of came across half a dozen or so that didn't have it. So, but didn't notice anything as far as like the impact of when you apply to sell, or you mark as new. It seems to be reacting the same way. I still got like one of them needed 300 units, one of them needed 10. I know another one needed 100 units. So I didn't notice any difference in what I'm required to do. It just simply seems like the $'s gone.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too. I just tried with Mattel right now, and they still want 100 units. Polly, I've got fulfilled by merchant returns that are all winter wear. Planning to hold until October when I send into FBA. Is there any negative to listing it again, merchant fulfilled in the meantime? Any ding for it being listed? No, none at all. No, you can absolutely list those merchant fulfilled all year long, and there won't be. I mean, they're not going to charge you any fees. They're not going to do any of that stuff. And then if you decide you want to send it, if you end up holding them until October, you can send them in. That's no problem. Potato. Should I add my prep center address to Seller Central? Yeah. I mean, you don't really have a choice. You're going to have a ship from address, and it's going to be your prep center. So it's going to be in there one way or another. So yeah, absolutely. Oh, nice. Yeah, I actually need to change some dates around. Now I got another credit card. I need to move some things again. All right. Let's talk a little more news. If you guys have more questions, we're here for at least another 30 minutes. So please drop them in the chat. We're happy to talk as much as you guys will have us. Came across an article today that despite everything you hear, consumers do not plan on pulling back in 2026. Despite economic anxiety hitting near record levels, most consumers are not planning dramatic spending cuts in 2026, according to a new survey from Smarty. Nearly half, or 45%, expect to spend about the same as 2025, while only 16% anticipate spending less. Now, the mood is a bit cautious, but nobody seems to be panicking right now. About 19 to 20% actually feel very optimistic about their 2026 financial outlook, and 51% describe their financial future as uncertain. Not really sure that number is too far off from every year, though. Finance is one of those things where it's always sort of doom and gloom. Gen Z and millennials are actually slightly more optimistic. And I know you've got a soft spot for Gen Z. 27% are very optimistic, 42% are uncertain, and their overall vibe is kind of, we're going to be vigilant rather than fearful. Now, here are the things that are keeping people up at night. Everyday prices going up. Groceries, gas, utilities. About 60% of the public is in that camp. Inflation not cooling fast enough. About 41% of people. Healthcare and insurance cost. About 40%. Tariffs raising prices. About 31%. That's come down significantly since last year. Prices rising faster than income. 59%. That number is always pretty high. And then, of course, unexpected emergencies, 48%. Now, saying all this, where is spending increasing? Well, for those planning to spend more in 2026, a lot of it seems to be necessities rather than discretionary purchases. Food and dining, 70% of people plan to spend more. 58% plan to spend more in housing costs, 46% in healthcare and wellness, 39% in family expenses. These are not very well defined. And I would say that family expenses, food and dining, those kind of things, those are big buckets. Now, what are the pain points? Well, about 74% expect the cost of living to rise. Yeah.
That's
every
it?
year. Yeah, right. It should be 100%. There's something called COLA, or cost of living adjustment, in things like Social Security. Prices go up every year. As a matter of fact, it's actually built into the economy. They kind of want to keep inflation around 2%. So prices always go up. 64% say price increases over the past year were very or extremely noticeable. Groceries hurt the most. 72% of people said that, followed by utilities at 50%. I can definitely see that one there. Chris and I have actually had that conversation and actually looked at numbers, and yeah, those have gone up. Thanks, AI. Housing is up 39%, or housing 39% of people, healthcare 36%, and transportation 33%. I'm not sure where that number is coming from. Gas prices are down. Overall, I mean, I know that car prices are up. I don't know. I haven't had a new car payment in a very long time. So I don't, I'm a little insulated from that feeling.
Yeah, they do. Jeep's experiment with a 6-figure Cherokee didn't go so well. Those things bottomed out, and that's the only transportation. Just it has to be the price of buying and leasing vehicles, because gas is like, it's almost exactly the same as far as the gas station that I go by. So this is it's interesting. I reading through the numbers, it almost makes you question the source. Like what exactly, you were rattling off, like, the people that plan to spend more, and then they somehow separated food and dining, housing costs, healthcare and wellness, family expenses. It feels like that's only 2 categories, if you actually, talked about the kinds of things. But so what I wonder through this whole thing is, did the fact that they peppered us with fear of tariffs, did we get desensitized to that? And is this why maybe there's a larger percentage of people that are looking at their economic status a little bit more favorably, because maybe it was overhyped, the impact of what tariffs were going to
do? Potentially. I want to believe that people are not just taking everything from the media like hook, line, and sinker. But like, there are other things that show that that's not the case. So I hope that people are getting desensitized. I know I certainly am. I try to be objective about it. Like, yes, I know that there are certain things that are more expensive compared to the year before, but if I go back and look at my grocery orders from a year ago compared to now, they're not massively different in price. Some things, sure, but not a ton.
Well, I think there's, like, different categories have had wildly different swings.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like there's just random grocery items that kind of go up and down. It's not like there's some grocery category, or some inflation number attached to all supermarkets. It doesn't just kind of move like in one connected piece. And it's, unfortunately, it's the water gets a little bit muddier, because we want to tie politics into all this stuff. Apparently politicians influence gas prices and grocery prices far more than I ever learned that they do, but we won't get into that. But Gen Z, man, my favorite generation, they know, like, they're just accepting their fate, like they're not blaming, certain people. Not me, of course. I would never say anything like this about millennials, but certain people think millennials like to blame everyone else for everything bad that happens in their lives, to an extent that's a little bit more than reasonable. Again, not me. I would never say anything like that, right? You know that.
As an elder millennial who tries to buck that trend, I will agree with that.
There's some truth to it. Millennials might not want there to be truth to it, but there is. I have a sibling that's 12 years younger than me, and I know there's a little bit of truth to it. Gen Z is just kind of like, they've like kind of given up on all of the old traditions. Like they're willing to redefine it, you know, and they're just like, we need to be frugal, you know, so they made being frugal cool, and they have higher savings rates than I think the 2 generations older than them. Just kind of gave up on the white picket fence, and they're like, you know, we're gonna rent, you know. And they're just like, all right, we're renters. I think it's really interesting how they're just kind of, I mean, I'm not saying they like it, you know, I'm not saying they're like, yeah, you know, hit me again, Ike, you know, but you know, they're just kind of rolling with it, and they're dealing with it. And they're kind of, I feel like they're just watching all the older generations and picking out how they're not going to be like that. You know, it's like when your parents have bad habits and you're like, when I grow up, I am never going to be like that. And then you develop like this rubber band knee jerk reaction that goes the other way.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's answer a couple more questions. Then we got a little bit more for you guys tonight. Champ, did you guys do an episode talking about filing taxes this year? We have not. I do not feel qualified to discuss filing taxes. We have had, I mean, other than like do it. You know, if you can't get it done in time for April, make sure to file your extension. Does not mean an extension on paying. It just means an extension on filing the paperwork, just so you know. But we have done an episode with Chris of Tall Oaks Advisors. I'd go back and listen to that one. Rules, I haven't seen any rule changes that are major since we did that episode. So
Yeah, I don't know. There's still 8 months before I have to worry about my taxes.
right. Have you used Claude Code to automate any of your operational tasks? I was actually talking with Chris about this just the other day. I just recently upgraded from the $20 a month Claude plan, which does have Claude Code in it. But unfortunately, I ran through all of my available space. And so I moved up to the $100 a month plan just the other day. I have not automated anything yet on a regular basis. However, I have started learning some things. I started with something very simple where I had Claude Code reorganized my desktop, and it did a spectacular job. So the next test is going to be looking for receipts for true ops. We're going to give that a shot. And maybe organizing some receipts in email and stuff like that. So we're going to give those things a shot. But we're going to be working on it, trying to figure that all out over the next couple of months. I've been using it for some other things as well, and it has done a fantastic job as long as you take the time to prompt it correctly and give it lots and lots of context. So I would highly suggest that you grab Whisper Flow. I don't even care if you use my affiliate link, which I don't even know how to get paid from them if you do, but you do get a free month if you use it. I don't have it handy either, so that's not helpful. But get Whisper Flow, throw your mic on, start talking to it, break down everything. And then I usually go back through and read through all of the mess of words that I've said, and then try to clean it up a little bit, and then let it go to work.
You know, I Chad actually reposted it. Greg Eisenberg had a good quote. Because I don't know if we did it live on a show or not, but you know, I was kind of curious why Claude Bot, now Molt Bot. I was curious why it grabbed everyone's attention so hard, you know. And I think you were spot on when you said that, you know, it runs locally, you know, so you're kind of keeping. Eventually there'll be a term called big AI, right? That you know, so big AI so you can keep your illusion of privacy together. But Greg Eisenberg made a good point. He tweeted earlier today. He said he called it a PSA. He said, "Don't set up ClaudeBot if you haven't gone deep in Claude code. With Claude code, you'll learn prompting 101, debugging, MD files. These are words I don't understand anymore, and learn
Markdown
security
files
dues."
are fantastic.
What's
by
that?
The way, the MD file is a markdown file. It's fantastic. It's a great way to teach. Yeah, a great way to teach your AI how to context.
Okay. And he says ClaudeBot just multiplies whatever skill you already have with a 24/7 assistant, and he says walk before you run. And that's great advice. That's we've given that advice out on different subjects. We talked about hiring VAs too soon. Like if you think a VA is going to solve your lack of skill in sourcing, sorely mistaken. Because you're the one training the VA, so the VA is only going to be about 50 to 75% as good as you are at whatever you're training the VA to do. So, so I thought that was interesting. People kind of jumping on, but my opinion has evolved a little bit. I am happy that it did become so popular because I think it's going to bring a whole lot of people into a higher level of awareness on what AI can do. I'm not necessarily sure that ClaudeBot is not going to underwhelm, just simply based on hype, just the way these cycles run, and the people that talk about it and how often they talk about it. I don't think we can avoid overhyping it, but similar to what the pandemic did for e-commerce, it kind of forced people into that evolution sooner than they would have gotten to it organically. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's kind of, in another group that I'm in, someone asked about ClaudeBot today, or, OpenClaw or whatever, MoltBot or whatever it is being called right now. But someone asked about it today. And because of the fact that I love Twitter and because of the fact that I'm chronically online, like it feels like we learned about this a month ago, even though it's been like, less than a week. And then someone asking about it, like, "Oh, did you guys see this? Like, I just came across this." And I just wanted to be like, "Oh, what did you spend all your time on LinkedIn or something?" Like just catching up, man. So
and it's going to be all the rage on Facebook in a couple weeks.
Right. Jimmy. Yeah, I don't like car payments. All right, Champ. I plan to move to Arizona in a few months. Any tips on how I should go about moving my business as well, getting a new reseller certificate and such? All right. So here's what I did when I moved from Ohio to Florida. I did the move first. Like, don't go trying to do everything all at once. Just move. And then once I got settled in, I moved the LLC to Florida. Excuse me. Got the reseller certificate down here, got all of that stuff set up, changed my address on my EIN, all of those things. And then I opened a case with Amazon seller support. And I said, "Hey guys, I'm going to be moving. And I just want to make sure that I let you know I'm going to be changing addresses, changing bank information, all of this stuff. I just want to make sure that that's okay." And I got a response and they're like, "Yeah, that's fine." The reason I do that is to try to mitigate any suspensions for security reasons that Amazon may throw at you. Once I got that back, then I go in and I start changing everything. I changed over the LLC, changed over the bank information, changed all my addresses, all of that stuff, and then you're good to go. So just be methodical with it. Eden, I got a risk of account suspension notice. So your account is at risk of suspension for your merchant fulfilled listings. My OTDR rate dropped below 60%. Any ideas on how to troubleshoot this issue? Just wait it out. I had this like a week ago or so. Like I shipped something, and I shipped an item where I messed up my shipping template, and I had to ship it ground because it was hazmat, and because I shipped so few items myself, this item ended up being late, and I could not buy a protected shipping label, and so I got it too, and then it goes away. So it like resets every 14 days or something. Does Boxum have a Chrome extension for the ungating feature, or do you need to use the entire software? It's right inside of their inventory area of the software. There's a link down in the video description. Go try it out for 14 days. You could do some damage with 14 days of their just their ungating feature. So Judy, have you ever reached a point in your business where you have multiple products that aren't selling and you have to decide whether to stop buying new products or keep investing in more inventory? Well, if you have multiple products that are not selling, you got to figure out why. I would do that before going and spending more money on inventory. Because if the number of items that are not selling is going up at a very similar rate to how much inventory you're buying, then it sounds like there could be a structural problem. Like where's the point where I'm making the wrong decision? So I'd be looking into that, number one. Number two, I would like you need to have rules in place for when it's time to cut bait. So for me, that's 90 days. If things are not selling at the 90-day point, it is time to put a fire sale on and get whatever I can back so that I can invest in new, better inventory. But Judy, you're an OAC plus. Like, let's hash that out a bit. Let's find out what's going on and break it down. And see where we can fix that. Lounger taxes question. I'll say AI is significantly smarter at handling it than previous years. Didn't even need QuickBooks this time. Sent all the statements to GPT and it prepared it amazingly. That is good to know. That's great. Yeah, ChatGPT. That's interesting. I may have to give that a whirl. Let's see here. Yeah, I know Luke can't seem to get accurate numbers out of AI at all. It's the way you speak to it, man. Like you're going to be on the front lines when Skynet goes live. Like that's why I say please and thank you. No, but seriously, I have found that numbers are getting better, but it is definitely not their strong suit because they are large language models. They are not large math models. So,
and it hears what you say about it in the chats. It knows you're a hater.
It does. Let's see here. Is there a metric that measures how well your inventory is selling? There sure is. If you go to your inventory performance dashboard, they give you your sell-through rate. They give it your sell-through rate. I can't wait to see Luke face to face with an Optimus robot when they come out. All right. I got a little more news for you guys, and then I've put together another. This one's a heuristic I got for you guys tonight. But Valentine's Day and Super Bowl spending. I know that I'm a sucker for numbers, so it's another numbers one. Two major spending events are hitting back to back, and what's interesting is that consumer signals are the complete opposite this year around. So Valentine's Day is set to break yet another record. Expected spending is going to hit 29.1 billion with a B this year, surpassing last year's record of 27.5 billion. Shoppers are budgeting nearly $200 on average for Valentine's Day, up from $189 last year. 55% of consumers plan to celebrate. Now, what is driving this surge? Well, middle and high income shoppers are expanding their gift lists beyond romantic partners to include friends. 33% of people are going to buy for friends. Oh, if you're my friend, I'm sorry. Not happening. Co-workers, 21%. I don't have any of those. And pets. A record 35% plan to buy Valentine's Day gift for their pets, totaling $2.1 billion, up from $1.7 billion in 2025. Stop it. Top Valentine's Day categories: candy. 56% of consumers plan to buy. Of course, that's the most popular. It's too late to FBA any candy, but if you wanted to merchant fulfill some candy, that is just fine. You can also wait, and you can buy Valentine's Day candy for 50 cents at Walmart and sell it afterwards. Okay, nothing wrong with that. People are going to buy the candy hearts and the Reese's hearts and all those things after the holiday. Jewelry is about to hit $7 billion in total spend. It's the highest dollar amount of any particular category here. Of course, that makes sense. Everyone wants a diamond tennis bracelet for Valentine's Day, but you can actually take advantage of this if you are an Amazon seller. Maybe not this year, but next year. Not everyone's going to go to Zales. There are a lot of people who are going to buy things that are, under $100 that you could buy and resell on Amazon if you know what you're looking for. An evening out, $6.3 billion is going to be spent. My wife asked me to take her to a cat cafe. Clothing,
Sorry, what?
3.5. What's that? My wife asked me to take her to a cat cafe for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I didn't need you to repeat it.
Okay.
What's a cat cafe?
It's apparently a place where you go and have coffee or other beverages, maybe some finger foods, and they just allow cats to walk around the joint. Yeah, it's
like knock your drink off the counter.
Yeah, just they get, but yeah, apparently cat ladies now are opening businesses.
Okay.
Is what that is. So clothing, $3.5 billion, flowers, $3.1 billion, and of course, the top shopping destination is online. 38% of consumers plan to buy on the inner tubes. Now, we've also got the Super Bowl coming up. And viewership is going to be up about 80% plan to watch compared to 75% last year. However, spending is down a little bit, $129 on average versus $142 in spend last year. 21% of people plan to spend less. 19% of people expect to spend more than they did last year. And perhaps the reason is that more people plan on betting this year. 54% of people plan on placing a bet, up from 41% last year. Most people say that they're going to spend under $100 on betting. We'll see. Only 49% say football is their primary reason for watching. Entertainment and family time matter more to many. This is just an aside, but online betting, I want people to be able to do what they want, but I think online betting is a dangerous, dangerous thing. Um,
That's it. Just a dangerous, dangerous thing. That's all you got.
I mean, it's not good. I mean, yeah, if we want to go the Scott Galloway route, like it's especially dangerous for young men. Uh,
Mhm.
and I get scared. Like I don't want to see either of my kids get addicted to gambling over their phone. Like gambling is already addictive. I like going to the casino. You know, it feels good to play blackjack, and I learned craps on the last cruise I was on, and I was like, I could get behind this. A little pie gal, sign me up. Uh, but I have the willpower to stop myself. Um, I could certainly see my youngest getting addicted to betting, over the phone. It's too easy. And you get that dopamine hit from winning. Like it is dangerous.
Yeah, it's I agree. I just wanted you to flesh it out a little bit more. It's all in how they present it. I mean, the problem is that they're making it so accessible. Unfortunately, they seem to be going the route that credit cards do when someone turns 18. The opportunities are there all over the place. They welcome you with open arms. They make it sound so easy without being sure that you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. And you're right; it's particularly dangerous with the attitudes that are out there. This obsession with wealth. There's a lot of um, there's a lot of FOMO that's created from the stuff, and of course you only see the best of the best. Never has it been more applicable that little asterisk statement that they put. Results not typical. You hear a lot of people on social media. The ones that get the engagement are the ones that hit it big. You're not really going to hear about people that got in so much trouble that it's going to take years to rebuild everything that they've lost. So yeah, they do have to be careful with that. So, I think unfortunately, as these numbers come out, it's going to paint a pretty ugly picture for a lot of people, unfortunately. But
Yeah. And
I do think it's interesting about the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Before I
I was gonna
jump
say,
to the Super Bowl.
and these, like I get, Mattress Mac, who bets every year, and always gets some headlines over it, but he's got that money to blow. Dan Newland, he's a ambulance chaser here in Florida. And he just bet $1 million on the Super Bowl and said he's going to take all of his winnings and donate it. Like, sure, that's a great cause, but you guys have the money to blow. And, the 21-year-old, who doesn't have $1,000 and is going to bet on some sort of margin, and then lose it. Like that's who's going to get hurt.
Yeah, because it's all the messaging from the it's the same thing. Just choose your different subject. We saw it with Amazon FBA. All the anti-guru sentiment largely originated from the broccoli haired kid in front of a rented Lambo, who claims to be making all this money and just send me a DM and I'll sell you the course on how to do it. It's that that formula, that translates to multiple different subjects. It's going to happen with crypto and all that stuff. There's a ton of people that are in boatloads of debt, because they're chasing, whether it be Bitcoin or whatever the meme coin of the day is. So it's so important to mind your inputs.
Mm-hmm.
So, But I do wonder if the Super Bowl, you said 80% plan to watch this year, which is an increase from 75% last year. How much of that is people just being so happy that the Chiefs aren't in the Super Bowl this year? Right?
Yeah. All right. Is there a sweet spot for sell-through rate? Great question, champ. Yeah. Amazon even gives it to you. It's like between 1.5 and 3. Like, you don't want to sell too fast. They don't want you turning things over too fast, and you don't either. Okay. Which at first glance, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Okay. Because you're like, well, I want to sell things as fast as humanly possible, but not necessarily at the expense of your margins. Okay. And also, you don't want things sitting for too long, because then your margins get eaten up by storage fees and things like that. So yeah, there's a bit of a sweet spot. I think mine normally runs between like 1.6 and 1.9, which is right there solidly in the green according to Amazon. Shop. Amazon asked for a CPC certificate before listing active or when. Sorry, Amazon asked for a CPC certificate before listing active or when listing is active. Now, Amazon doesn't require CPCs up front always. Like, it's usually, you usually don't know that a CPC may be required for something until you get it listed. And actually, every CPC that that has been requested of me has been after I've sold through. Yeah, every single one. I don't sell a ton of toys either. So, but of all the toys that I've needed or have been requested of me, they've all been after I sold out.
All of the CPC requests that I've received this year have been taken care of by some other seller.
Yeah, that too. Champ, thoughts on Amazon suggestions on buying inventory to stay in stock? Not sure how trustworthy it is. I think it should be used as a data point, but you need to marry that with your own data. Like, if they're telling me that I should send in 80 units, okay. But it took me 3 weeks to sell through 20 units. So 80 is probably too many. You got to kind of have a bit of a middle road there. All right. And if you guys have more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. But I made a promise that I want to do more of these laws, rules, or razors. And so tonight we're going to talk about a heuristic. And this one is called the availability heuristic. The reason I actually brought this one up is because of what we talked about earlier, which is about consumers not pulling back in 2026 and economic anxiety hitting record levels, etc. Okay. But the availability heuristic can actually mess with your sourcing decisions. So your brain has a shortcut, and this shortcut can cost you money. We call it the availability heuristic. It was identified by psychologists Tversky and Kahneman back in like the 1950s. And it means that you judge how likely something is based on how easily examples come to mind, not actual data. Okay. So if it's recent, if it's dramatic, or if it's emotionally charged, it feels more probable than it actually is. Now, how does this hurt Amazon sellers? Well, you might remember when people chased NFT related products in 2021. Okay. There were actual physical products based on NFTs back then. Or maybe someone, pivoted pretty hard to a product that went viral on TikTok. Okay. Well, that's availability bias. Okay. There's a recent example of it, and so people go toward it. All right. We tend to overweight what's fresh in our memory. We over-index for what's fresh in our memory. Thanks, lizard brain. So you had a recent win. Maybe a competitor had a success, or a friend of yours had a success, or maybe you read about a really scary account suspension story. Okay. There's actually one on Twitter that I'm aware of. And like his recency bias and his own availability heuristic makes him make content in a certain way. And when other people see it, this availability heuristic then makes it seem like, oh man, Amazon is coming for everybody. Okay. At the same time, they're ignoring historical data. They're ignoring the literal hundreds of examples of suspensions that we have helped people through with our podcast. They're ignoring, all the thousands of sellers that have gone through them on Twitter and social media and talked about it and been just fine. They're even ignoring the fact that he has been unsuspended. It just took a lot longer than anybody wanted. Okay. So, what are some common traps with the availability heuristic? Well, it might be chasing some trendy products because they're all over social media and ignoring those things that you sell every day that are profitable and boring. This is why I hammer home, we don't sell sexy, we just sell what sells. Maybe avoiding entire categories because you've heard one horror story about returns or suspensions or CSM reviews. There are people just eating other people's lunch, in particular categories and with particular brands because they understand they're going to be able to get through things where other people will stay away from them. Might also make you overestimate risk of some events that are somewhat rare, like an IP complaint. Out of 100 products, how many do you really get an IP complaint on? Is it 1%? Is it 3%? If you listen to certain people, it's 50%, and that's nowhere near the case. Okay. And we might overestimate those kind of risks and underestimate common ones like price erosion. Price erosion is a common thing that we need to pay more attention to. And this might also make you copy a competitor strategy because they've got this vivid success story. They've got that red Lambo. And I almost made a reaction video to this person's what they're doing. Okay. They are very loud on social media. They seem to be doing a great job, but the underlying fundamentals that they even show in some of their videos just do not work and are dangerous. But they've got plenty of people who are willing to copy what they're doing because it's working for them and they haven't been caught yet. So, how do we fight this? Okay. Well, we've got to try to make sure that we use data over gut instinct. We need to beat back that lizard brain. Make sure that you're using Keepa, of course. All right. You don't just want to follow whatever Twitter hype might be out there. Make sure that you're looking at 90-day averages, not just yesterday's price. And then go out and build yourself some decision frameworks that require evidence before you commit your capital. Okay. Now, I'm not talking about, some 12-point checklist that's got to be ticked off that's going to take you a half an hour before you pull the trigger on any one product. I'm just talking something that takes you a minute or two before you spend $1,000 on the American Express card. All right. Bottom line is our brains are not built for objective probability assessment. Okay. We would not have outlived the saber-toothed tigers if that was the case. All right. We're built for these survival shortcuts, and we've got to beat them back when there's not really anything hunting us down, trying to kill us every second of every day, unless you live in Florida or Australia. And you need to know that this bias exists, right? And then you need to go and build systems that override it and actually help make you better at sourcing, at pricing, and at overcoming the availability heuristic.
That's a good one. I have listening to you explain it. I had all sorts of phrases like recency bias, um, coming into mind. And then I was thinking about how much stickier the negative is than the positive. We're about 20 times more likely to remember a negative and share a negative than we are a positive. Um, yeah. So this is a tough one. Like, this is far more present. I imagine a lot of us out there, we're kind of going through certain things in our heads, like, yep, I did it here, I do that with this. And it's real interesting. The one solution that I immediately thought of is just double check it. Like, I don't. It doesn't seem like something that me and you would be talking about, but I was listening to something, or I was talking to somebody, and they actually estimated. They were talking about, and it was in the UK. They were talking about adults and the amount of time that they watch TV,
Mm-hmm.
and they basically, the average was about 14 hours per week, is what they said. Was this you and I that were you telling me about this?
We
Does this sound familiar?
we either read the same article or talked about it somewhere.
Yeah, well, it turns out in the UK, they actually have the ability to get information on how much TV is actually watched. I forget the mechanism, but what they said was 14 hours actually turns out to be 25 hours a week is what, and I think it was somewhere in the like 30 to 45 age range that this information came through. So it's amazing how we kind of make assumptions and we're really bad at it. So it's like, just do the math. We were actually, I think about, we just finished up book club, and we read Cal Newport's Deep Work, we were talking about, like, actually, like, measuring things, instead of assumptions. Like, oh, I can source, if I want to source 10 products, it'll take me about 90 minutes. And that's an assumption, and reality is most likely going to be far, far different than that. But the cool thing is you can actually time yourself. Like, you can actually put in the effort and figure out what that number is. And we were talking about it last night. It'd be far more helpful. Like, how much easier would it be if you're struggling to stick to a schedule, and actually make your days more productive, and you're trying to block off time? Isn't it a whole lot easier if you knew how much time you actually needed, instead of just making an assumption? You can always just do the math, or actually measure things, instead of making these assumptions. Because you're right, we're really bad at it.
We're very bad at it. All right, couple more questions here. Do you think more sellers are leaving than joining selling on Amazon? I don't know that more sellers are leaving than joining. There has been some attrition. We do know that, at least based on the best numbers that we have available to us. There were a little over there were like 2.1 million sellers at one point, and it's down to like 1.85 million sellers or something like that. So there is some attrition. The problem is we don't know how much of that is sellers leaving the space, because one of the weird things about when sellers decide to leave Amazon is, I mean, they announce it like it's it's an airline announcement. Like, they're like, I'm leaving, good riddance, you suck. I'm out of here, Um, but we also don't know how much of the attrition is due to Amazon getting serious about fighting fraud, counterfeit, and stolen goods on the platform. Um, so, but we also know like 165,000 new sellers signed up last year. And I don't know what the stick rate is. Like so yes, has there been some attrition? It seems to be. We're noticing that anecdotally. We're given that information from Marketplace Pulse and however they gather that data. But we don't actually know the real root cause. We know a lot of sellers are mad at Amazon and they leave because they say it. We know that Amazon fights a lot of things like I talked about, but a lot of sellers still come on the platform. Listen, despite what anybody says, yeah, it's harder being an Amazon seller now than it was 5 years ago, just like it's harder owning a lawn mowing business than it was 5 years ago. Because the barrier to entry is so low, and the education aspect where everything is literally on YouTube and Instagram. Like there are just so many people who can start a business. But yeah, no, I think we're in a really good spot over this next year. And the availability heuristic right here. A seller I follow got kicked off selling Legos. Why does this happen? We can't know for sure. You know, I mean, it just happens sometimes. Maybe they haven't sold a lot of Legos in the past. Maybe they had some counterfeit complaints that they didn't get taken care of. Maybe I don't know for sure. You know, and if they were just regated, that doesn't mean they're kicked off. That just means they need to go through the ungating process again. So like there's all these unknowns that we can't know for sure because we only ever get part of the story. We get the headline from most people. And when I actually dig into, a lot of times when this kind of stuff happens or someone catches a suspension, you dig a little bit deeper and it's like, oh, for example, I talked about that guy who got suspended a Section 3 on Twitter and it took a while to get back. Well, after the second or third video, you find out they were selling on misbranded listings. Oh, that makes sense. So now you got to fight back against that, which he did, then that's fine. I don't think he did it on purpose. I don't think he was doing anything shady, you know, but then you find that kind of stuff out and you're like, oh, okay, there's a little more to it. Now let's figure out our way through it. So very kind of you. I appreciate that. We do try to be some signal through the noise. There's a lot of it out there. We don't always get it right. We try, and we try to have a good time doing it. So I appreciate that, champ. All right. Chris, I've got some disturbing news. A neighbor of mine yesterday was attacked by a group of mimes.
Ooh, were they okay?
No, they did unspeakable things.
God.
And that's it. That's it for the show, guys. You're welcome, or I'm sorry, whichever one works for you. We're going to be back this Wednesday, 7 p.m. is the new show time. Would love to have you there. Thanks for hanging out with us, and hope everyone has a kick-ass week.